to your local grocery store, only to find empty shelves where your favorite foods used to be. No eggs, no fresh milk, even basic staples like rice and cooking oil gone. Sounds impossible? Think again. Major disruptions are already happening behind the scenes, and by April 2025, some everyday grocery items could become extremely hard to find. From supply chain breakdowns to unpredictable weather events, a perfect storm is brewing, one that could hit your shopping list sooner than you think. In this video, we're breaking down 12 essential grocery items that are facing serious shortages. You'll learn what's causing these supply issues, which foods will be hardest to find, and most importantly, how to prepare before it's too late. Let's dive in. 1. Eggs. Before we talk about the more unexpected shortages, let's start with something that's already causing concern: eggs. Right now, poultry farms across the country are battling a relentless enemy: avian influenza. This deadly virus is spreading fast, wiping out millions of chickens and forcing farms to cull entire flocks to stop the outbreak. The result? Fewer hens, fewer eggs, and skyrocketing prices. If you thought last year's egg prices were high, brace yourself. With supply shrinking and demand staying strong, some regions are already seeing double or even triple the usual price per dozen. And it's not just about cost. Many stores are struggling to keep eggs in stock at all. But the real problem? This outbreak isn't slowing down. Scientists warn that if it continues, we could see widespread egg shortages well before April 2025. 2. Fresh milk. Before we talk about the pantry staples at risk, let's focus on something even more urgent: fresh milk. Milk is a household essential, but behind the scenes, the dairy industry is struggling to keep up. Farmers are facing a perfect storm of challenges: rising feed costs, extreme weather, and supply chain disruptions. The result? Milk production is slowing down, and store shelves are starting to reflect the shortage. One major issue is the droughts hitting key dairy-producing regions. Less water means less food for cows, which directly impacts milk output. In some areas, farmers are being forced to cut down herd sizes just to survive. Fewer cows mean less milk, and that means higher prices for consumers. Driver shortages, fuel costs, and processing delays are making fresh milk harder to transport before it expires. Some grocery stores are already reporting inconsistent deliveries, with customers noticing gaps in dairy sections more frequently. And here's something most people don't realize: dairy imports are down. The U.S. relies on imports for certain dairy products, and global disruptions are making it harder to secure those shipments. That means alternatives like organic or specialty milk might be even harder to find. If this trend continues, we could see severe milk shortages before April 2025. But fresh dairy isn't the only thing at risk. Some of your favorite grocery items could disappear from stores even sooner. 3. Meat products. Before we talk about the scarcity of pantry staples, let's address a pressing concern: meat products. The meat industry is currently facing significant challenges that are leading to shortages and price hikes. In the UK, for instance, steak lovers are experiencing higher prices due to cattle shortages and increased demand. The Hawksmoor Steakhouse Group has raised prices by approximately 4% to maintain quality amid reduced herd sizes. The Agriculture and Horticulture Development Board predicts a 5% drop in UK beef production for 2025, with demand rising by 1%. Similarly, Gaucho restaurants have increased prices by about 5% due to additional duty charges post-Brexit and exclusion from the Hilton quota. These challenges are not confined to the UK. In the United States, recent tariffs have exacerbated the situation, leading to increased food prices. Experts recommend stocking up on meat products before these tariffs further raise prices. The situation has sparked consumer reactions in various regions. In Southeast Europe, for example, retail boycotts have emerged in response to soaring food prices. In Bulgaria, a boycott on February 13th resulted in a revenue decline of 28.8% for the largest supermarket chains compared to the previous day. 4. Fresh produce. Before we talk about the challenges facing non-perishable goods, let's turn our attention to a critical area: fresh produce. The availability of fresh fruits and vegetables is under significant threat due to recent geopolitical developments. In early 2025, President Trump imposed a 25% tariff on imports from Mexico and Canada, aiming to address trade imbalances and bolster domestic production. However, these tariffs have had unintended consequences on the U.S. food supply. To understand the impact, consider that a substantial portion of the U.S.'s fresh produce is imported from these neighboring countries. In 2024, approximately 70% of avocados consumed in the U.S. were sourced from Mexico. Similarly, 88% of imported carrots came from Mexico, 49%, and Canada, 39%. Moreover, 67% of imported berries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, and blackberries originated from Mexico, 63%, and Canada, 4%. Onions and garlic imports also heavily relied on these countries, with 60.7% coming from Mexico, 52%, and Canada, 8.7%. The newly imposed tariffs have led to increased costs for these essential imports. Consequently, consumers are experiencing noticeable price hikes in grocery stores. For instance, the price of avocados has surged by 25%, and berries have seen a 15% increase. These price adjustments reflect the direct pass-through of tariff costs to consumers. Beyond tariffs, labor shortages in the agricultural sector are exacerbating the situation. Stricter immigration regulations have led to a reduced workforce available for harvesting and packaging produce. Farms that heavily rely on migrant workers are struggling to maintain production levels, leading to decreased supply and further inflating prices. Additionally, environmental factors are playing a role. Recent extreme weather events, such as ex-tropical cyclone Alfred, have disrupted supermarket distribution centers, leading to lingering shortages of fresh produce on shelves. These disruptions are expected to affect availability for most of the week. The convergence of these factors, trade tariffs, labor shortages, and environmental disruptions, is creating a perfect storm for fresh produce scarcity. Consumers may need to brace for continued challenges in accessing affordable fruits and vegetables in the coming months. 5. Wheat-based staples. Before we talk about the scarcity of other pantry essentials, let's focus on a fundamental component of diets worldwide: wheat-based staples like bread and pasta. The global wheat supply is under significant strain due to a combination of environmental and geopolitical factors. Climate change has increased the likelihood of multiple breadbasket failures, where simultaneous crop failures occur in key production areas. Research indicates that by 2030, the probability of a greater than 15% shock to global grain production could double, rising from a 1-inch to 100-year event to a 1-inch to 50-year occurrence. In February 2025, global food commodity prices rose, with wheat prices experiencing notable increases due to limited supplies and adverse crop conditions. The Food and Agriculture Organization's Food Price Index reached 127.1 points, marking a 1.6% increase from January and an 8.2% rise compared to February 2024. These supply constraints have led to significant price hikes for wheat-based products. For instance, consumers in the Republic of Ireland are paying substantially more for staple groceries compared to those in Northern Ireland. A survey revealed that items like bread and pasta are considerably more expensive in the South, with factors such as higher operational costs and supply chain issues contributing to these disparities. The economic impact of these shortages extends beyond individual consumers. In Southeast Europe, escalating food prices have sparked retail boycotts. In Bulgaria, a boycott on February 13th led to a 28.8% revenue decline for major supermarket chains compared to the previous day, highlighting consumer discontent over soaring prices. 6. Cooking oils. Transitioning from staple grains, let's delve into another kitchen essential under pressure: cooking oils. Globally, the availability of cooking oils is tightening due to a convergence of environmental and economic factors. In Malaysia, palm oil inventories have declined for the 5th consecutive month, reaching a 22-month low in February 2025. This drop is primarily attributed to a 4.16% decrease in crude palm oil production, influenced by recent flooding that disrupted operations. Consequently, palm oil exports have also diminished by 16.27%, hitting a four-year low of 1 million metric tons. The ripple effects are evident in consumer markets. In Johor, Malaysia, there's a noticeable shortage of 1 kilogram and 2 kilograms bottled cooking oils, a situation attributed to soaring crude palm oil prices reaching unprecedented highs. Consumers express relief as governmental measures aim to stabilize the supply, hoping for swift implementation to alleviate the scarcity. India, the world's largest importer of vegetable oils, is experiencing similar challenges. In February 2025, India's edible oil imports plummeted to a four-year low, reducing inventories to a three-year nadir. Specifically, soy imports decreased by 36% to 283,737 tons, and sunflower oil imports fell by 20.8% to 228,275 tons. This decline has led to a 14% reduction in edible oil stocks from the previous month, totaling 1.87 million tons. These supply constraints have inevitably driven up prices. In Europe, used cooking oil, UCO, prices have surged to a two-year high, influenced by increased demand to offset biodiesel supply shortages from China. This trend is expected to persist, further straining the availability of cooking oils. The intertwining of environmental disruptions, such as floods affecting production, and economic policies, including export restrictions, has culminated in a global cooking oil shortage. Consumers worldwide are now grappling with higher prices and limited availability of this kitchen staple. 7. Canned legumes. Shifting our focus to pantry essentials, let's examine the emerging challenges surrounding canned legumes, including beans and chickpeas. The convenience and nutritional value of canned legumes have made them a staple in households worldwide. However, recent developments indicate potential disruptions in their availability. For instance, manufacturing disruptions at major food companies have led to stock shortages in canned products. Conagra Brands, a notable player in the industry, experienced production challenges affecting their canned pasta, beans, chili, and meat products. These issues were primarily due to problems related to cans, underscoring vulnerabilities in the supply chain. Market analyses project a steady growth in the canned chickpeas sector, with forecasts estimating the market size to reach approximately $1.26 billion by 2033, up from $0.8 billion in 2024. This growth trajectory reflects a compound annual growth rate, CAGR, of 5.2%. Similarly, the canned beans market is anticipated to expand at a CAGR of 4% during the period from 2020 to 2026. While these figures suggest a robust demand, they also highlight the pressure on production capacities to meet consumer needs. External factors, such as trade policies, further complicate the scenario. The imposition of tariffs on imports from major suppliers like Canada and Mexico is expected to elevate the cost of various food items, including legumes. Experts recommend consumers consider stocking up on non-perishable foods like canned beans and chickpeas to mitigate potential price hikes and shortages. The COVID-19 pandemic has also left its mark on the canned legumes market. Supply chain disruptions, labor shortages, and production delays have led to sporadic shortages and out-of-stock situations in certain regions. These challenges have prompted consumers to seek alternative sources or adjust their consumption patterns. Sugar. Transitioning from pantry staples, let's delve into the unfolding situation surrounding sugar, a ubiquitous ingredient in households worldwide. India, the world's second-largest sugar producer, is confronting a significant downturn in sugar production. The All India Sugar Trade Association forecasts that for the 2024-25 marketing year, production will plummet by 19.1% to 25.8 million metric tons, marking the first time in 8 years that output falls below the anticipated domestic consumption of 29 million tons. This decline is primarily due to reduced sugarcane supplies in key states like Maharashtra, where mills are ceasing operations earlier than usual, leading to a drop in output from 11 million tons to 8 million tons. This production shortfall has ripple effects on global sugar availability. Indian sugar mills have contracted to export 600,000 metric tons for the 2024-25 marketing year, but are now hesitant to commit to further exports due to escalating domestic prices. This slowdown in Indian exports is anticipated to bolster global sugar prices, as buyers may turn to other suppliers like Brazil, where sugar is currently more competitively priced. The global market is also experiencing volatility. In February 2025, the Food and Agriculture Organization's Food Price Index rose by 1.6% from January, with sugar prices surging by 6.6%. This spike is attributed to anticipated tighter global supplies and adverse weather conditions in Brazil, a leading sugar producer. Projections indicate a potential shift in the sugar market dynamics. Analyst firm Greenpool anticipates that the global sugar balance will transition to a modest surplus of 2.7 million tons in the 2025-26 crop year, following a deficit of 3.7 million tons in the previous season. This expected surplus is driven by a 4.5% increase in global production, reaching 202 million tons, the second highest total on record, with Brazil, India, and Thailand all forecasted to boost output. However, these projections are tempered by current challenges. For instance, Citigroup forecasts global sugar deficits of 2.3 million metric tons for the 2024-25 crop year and 1.3 million metric tons for 2025-26, citing prolonged drought and excessive rains in Brazil's main sugar-growing region as contributing factors. 9. Rice. Transitioning from sugar, let's delve into the current landscape of rice, a dietary cornerstone for over half of the world's population. India, the world's largest rice exporter, has recently lifted its export ban on white rice and removed the export duty on parboiled rice. This policy shift, coupled with a bumper kharif harvest, is anticipated to inundate the global rice market, potentially exerting downward pressure on prices in the initial quarter of 2025. Despite these developments, global rice prices have experienced significant volatility. In August and September 2023, prices soared to levels reminiscent of the 2007 to 2008 food price crisis, with the average global rice price escalating by 28% between 2022 and 2023. This surge was primarily attributed to India's previous export ban on non-basmati rice, implemented in response to domestic price hikes and concerns over potential El Niño impacts on key rice-growing regions. Looking ahead, the World Bank projects that global rice prices are unlikely to experience a significant decline before 2025. This forecast underscores the enduring challenges within the rice market, despite anticipated increases in supply. Moreover, climate change poses a substantial threat to rice production. Projections indicate that climate change could reduce rice yields by 15% by 2050, exacerbating concerns about food security. In light of these challenges, over 150 Nobel and World Food Prize laureates have called for immediate moonshot efforts to enhance global food production. They emphasize the urgency of ramping up research and innovation to address the mismatch between food supply and demand, particularly in the context of climate change and other global pressures. 10. Coffee. Transitioning from essential staples, let's delve into the brewing storm surrounding coffee, a daily ritual for millions worldwide. The global coffee trade is currently experiencing significant disruptions, primarily due to a steep rise in coffee prices. Since November, coffee prices have surged by 70%, leading traders and roasters to minimize their purchases as they grapple with costs that retailers have yet to fully absorb. This situation has led to reduced warehouse stocks and a conservative hand-to-mouth purchasing approach within the industry. In the United States, particularly in regions like the Bay Area, consumers are feeling the impact of these price hikes. Arabica coffee futures reached an all-time high of $4.30 per pound in February 2025, driven by droughts in major coffee-producing countries such as Brazil and Vietnam, as well as international shipping disruptions. Local cafes and roasters have responded by increasing their prices, For instance, Andytown coffee roasters implemented a 7% hike on drinks and a 10% increase on coffee beans to maintain sustainability. The specialty coffee sector is facing unprecedented challenges due to these price surges and supply chain issues. Severe production shortfalls in Central and South American countries, coupled with climate impacts on high-altitude growing regions, have created significant pressure on specialty roasters. These factors have led to a fundamental transformation in operations, compelling quality-focused roasters to adapt to maintain their standards. Climate change continues to pose a substantial threat to coffee production. Estimates from drought-stricken Brazil, the world's top coffee grower, suggest that this year's harvest could be down by about 12%. Experts highlight that many coffee farmers are suffering from climate change, facing predicaments that challenge traditional coffee cultivation practices. Looking ahead, there is some anticipation of price adjustments. The head of the Rothschild Association, Ramaz Shanturia, indicated that global coffee prices are expected to decrease by 20 to 30% after February 2025. This anticipated drop is linked to clearer results of coffee harvests in Vietnam and more accurate forecasts for production in Brazil, which could stabilize the volatile coffee markets currently impacted by challenging climatic conditions. 11. Chocolate. Let's delve into the unfolding challenges within the chocolate industry, a sector currently grappling with significant cocoa shortages and escalating prices. In recent years, the global cocoa market has been under considerable strain. As of February 2025, cocoa prices have repeatedly hit record highs since 2024, following consecutive growing seasons in West Africa impacted by adverse weather and disease. This surge in prices has significantly affected chocolate manufacturers and consumers alike. The root causes of this crisis are multifaceted. Climate change has led to unpredictable weather patterns, adversely affecting cocoa yields. Additionally, diseases such as the cacao swollen shoot virus, CSV, have devastated crops, particularly in Ghana's western north region, which is responsible for much of the country's cocoa production. Furthermore, in Ghana, the world's second-largest cocoa producer, thousands of farmers have abandoned their cocoa plantations in favor of small-scale, often illegal, gold mining. This shift has led to a significant decline in cocoa production, exacerbating the global shortage. The impact on consumers is palpable. Chocolate prices have risen substantially, with cocoa prices currently 86% higher than the previous year and more than 3 times the average price over the past 2 decades. Some companies have reduced product sizes or modified recipes to manage costs, while others have invested in developing cocoa alternatives. For instance, Mondelez International and Tate and Lyle have funded cell-based cocoa startup Celeste Bio to mitigate dependence on traditional cocoa farming. Despite these challenges, there is a glimmer of hope. The International Cocoa Organization, ICCO, forecasts a modest cocoa surplus this season, following 3 years of shortages. Number 12. Wheat. Transitioning from our previous discussions, let's delve into the current challenges facing a staple crop integral to global food security. Recent geopolitical tensions have significantly impacted wheat supplies. On March 12, 2025, a Russian missile strike targeted the Odessa port in Ukraine, damaging a grain vessel and resulting in 4 fatalities, including Syrian nationals. The vessel was loading wheat destined for Algeria, highlighting the broader implications of such attacks on global food security. Ukraine's foreign minister condemned the strike as an assault on global food security. These disruptions have contributed to volatility in global wheat prices. In February 2025, the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, reported a 1.6% increase in its food price index from January, with wheat prices rising due to limited supplies and challenging crop conditions. In response to these challenges, major wheat importing nations are adjusting their strategies. China, for instance, has raised its 2025 grain production target to approximately 700 million metric tons and increased its agriculture stockpile budget by 6.1% to 131.66 billion yuan, $18.12 billion. This move aims to enhance food security amid escalating trade tensions and reduce dependency on imports. The concept of multiple breadbasket failure underscores the vulnerability of global food systems to simultaneous disruptions in key agricultural regions. Such events can lead to decreased food supplies, increased prices, and heightened food insecurity, particularly affecting low- and middle-income countries. Historical precedents indicate that reduced stock-to-use ratios can trigger significant price volatility, with wheat price spikes having severe impacts on food security, given its role as a staple for over 2.5 billion individuals globally. As we've seen, global food supplies are facing serious challenges, with key grocery items becoming harder to find as we approach April 2025. From eggs and fresh milk to coffee, chocolate, and wheat, disruptions caused by disease outbreaks, climate change, geopolitical tensions, and economic instability are creating shortages and driving up prices. These shortages are not just temporary inconveniences. They signal deeper problems in food production and supply chains that could affect millions worldwide. Staying informed and preparing in advance can help mitigate the impact of these disruptions. If you found this information valuable, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss future updates on critical topics like this. Leave a comment below and let us know. Are you already seeing these shortages in your area? Stay safe, stay prepared, and we'll see you in the next video.